PTC Creo Parametric 3.0, Lesson 15. In this lesson, we'll explore the use of the sweep command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll back the model and start with the first feature, which is fairly simple. If we edit the definition of that and go and look at the internal sketch, we will see that it's nothing more with a rectangle with equal rounds. So it's 7 by 5 inch rectangle. Fairly simple feature. Our next one is the sweep. Take a look at that. It does have rounds on it. You can put the rounds on while you're doing the sweep. Takes a little more work, I think, or you can just add them later by rounding each one of the edges after the sweep is complete. So we have our dimensions here. We won't go by it exactly. We're just going to show you how to do the command. So I'll roll it back before it. Main thing with the sweep is that you, Main thing with the sweep is that you get it positioned correctly. So we're going to click on sweep, and we're going to go over to the datum features, and we're going to create a sketch. And we're going to sketch on the B datum that goes down the middle of the part. Like so. And I have my grid on right now. I don't really need my grid on. So I'm going to go over to my options, and in the sketcher, turn off the grid. All right, so I'm in the sketch. I'm going to go to the sketch view, and this is again the most important thing here is that you put a couple of references in. You select the front face here and the top, and that'll give you your correct references, because everything's going to be built off that upper corner there. So line chain, so, and put a fillet in here, and a fillet in here. And make those two fillets equal. And let me move this dimension down. If you can't get the cursor to select something properly by hitting your right mouse button, middle mouse button, you can come up over here and select one by one. And this actually has a similar scheme for dimensioning, but we're using this internal angle instead. I think I'm closer to 60 degrees. Again, I'm not going to make it exactly correct. Just something similar. You go by the dimensions in the book, of course. So complete the sketch, and the section there, the sketch in the section is active, selected. Continue on with the command itself, and we'll put this direction. This is the direction of the sweep. And we have to put a section here to drag along, sweep along. So we're going to go to the sketch. We'll go into 2D. Go to hidden line. And we're going to use the palette. And we'll use profiles, and we'll use the T profile. You can put it anywhere. And we're going to rotate it. And with your right mouse button, put the drag handle over on the left hand side here, like so. that out. Now you can change the dimensions here. And again, you can add, this dimensioning scheme is not correct. We're just going to leave it, but you can add your fillets here, which again is more work. And there's our preview. And that's the command. It's fairly simple, sweep. Again, if you wanted to do your rounds, at this point, you can go and you can select all the edges that you want. Whatever size you want them to be. I missed one. I did. Probably a little too big anyway. Get under our sets. And there's our sweep with the rounds built in. So we're going to go back to the one that was already modeled. Take a look at what the next feature is. Go back to my default standard orientation, default, and drag this so that the sweep is showing. Now the next feature we're going to build is at the end of the sweep here. Fairly simple. It's just a round extrusion. Let's take a look at it. The only important thing here is where you situate it. In other words, where it's referenced. And when I go back in here, you'll see that there is a reference on the bottom face. This is a reference in here. I click on references, we'll see we got datum, and then we've got the other one, but you can see it highlighted in here. This is the surface F7. You can see F7 up here. So that bottom here is used as a reference across. That's really the only thing here that you want to make sure that you do, is you set that up correctly. We'll complete that one. Now, next one is a cut. And again, it's just a circular cut in from the face back in. And we have a chamfer on both ends. So you have two selections there. You select the front edge and then the back edge. They're identical. And we have the pattern. So this is a cut. And this is the one that we put in first down here. So we're going to go through this one. We'll start off with extrude, remove material, pick the face we're going to sketch on, and go into our 2D view. We probably want to shut off our do no hidden line. And here I'm going to go back over to my options and into the sketcher and turn on polar and dynamic. Let's go with static and how about 0.25? I'll make it kind of small. So I can make the changes here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's make sure we show the grid and snap to the grid. Okay. We don't want to save that. Now, it didn't go in there because I actually went into my sketch before I did that. So I've got to go over here and I've got to select my grid. So we're going to select polar. But you're going to see that the grid goes to the origin up here. So we're going to have to do a few different things to get this to work right. I'm going to click OK. We have a reference here. And what we're going to do is we're going to right mouse button reference. I'm just going to pick one of the circles here. And I'm going to put a point in at the very origin here. See if I can get it to hook on there correctly. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. I might have to turn off my snap in order to get it to work. Let's go back out here. Hate to have to do it this way. And now let's put in a point. Lock it in there, like so. And then let's go over to our display dimensions and the grid. Let's position it. It's under polar, static. Let's change that and make it 2.5. If I would have set it up in the very beginning, that would have been better. And I'm going to pick origin, and I'm going to go over here and select that position that we put the point at. Click OK. And then I have to turn my grid snap back on. You can make a map key to do this a lot quicker. And snap to grid. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of construction center lines. One through here. One through here. And also I'm going to click on construction, click on circle, and put a construction circle in there. Middle mouse button. And I want to select that radial dimension and turn it into a diameter. So give me a circle dimension, a diameter dimension for the feature that I'm creating. So got to be a little careful here to make sure I'm selected. This is the construction circle here. It's very light, unfortunately. It's hard to see. So we're going to select the center and ends for an arc, center and ends for the arc. And you can see that I'm straddling the construction circle. And then center and ends. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I forgot to turn this off. So let's do it again. Center and ends. Center and ends. I'm going to back this up a little bit because I don't want all those construction ones on there. Center and ends. And our construction circle. It's very hard to see at this point. Center and ends. Center and end. So if you've got your grid set up correctly with your construction circle, and it does still go down the middle, so I'm okay. That was what I was concerned about, is that I didn't hit it in the middle when I selected it. Now you can change the sketch if you want. When you need to, you're going to have to sketch and create certain constraints. It's up to you how you want to do that. You also have to put in the proper dimensions. Right now we've got the construction circle dimension. We don't have anything else, so you're going to have to put in the dimensions as per the book. We also could, for instance, use coincident, and let's not coincident. Let's go. Horizontal. Let's see what happens if I pick here and here. You can see the little thing that goes across. You also could use symmetric. Sorry. Symmetric, center line, point, point. Get that one again. Make sure I have a center line here. I don't, so that's why it didn't go in correctly. So construction center line down the middle. And now, if I wanted to use symmetric instead, and again, it wasn't necessary. I could have used some of the other constraints that were already there. But you can see that eliminated a dimension. So you want your included arc for your size here, and you want the proper dimensions over here. Some of these are extra, you don't really need them all. You could actually continue on with symmetric and use the endpoint for all of them. like so. And you're controlling it, and then if you want it again, you could do your included angle here, like so. So it makes it very simple dimensioning wise. I'm just going to use the sizes that are there. Give a check. And this is important. You can always go back and change it if you do it wrong. You don't want this to go all the way through. So for instance, let's say if this was through all, it's not going to look bad right now, but it's possible that when this gets patterned, and again, I'm not using the right dimensions, the one we're going to have is going to be considerably bigger than this. So if I complete this, it looks like it's okay. And then I'm going to go to my pattern command, and we're going to use an axis pattern. And like so. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that happened. So you can see, because I didn't go and change the depth, I just went through all, made a nice little cut through my bracket sweep. So let's go and edit the slot and edit the dimension, or I should say the depth, up to surface, and select back here as the depth for the cut. Oh, that was interesting. Look what it did. And I'm not sure why it did that. That was very interesting. All right, so let's go back and change my pattern. My pattern is supposed to be 120, and it's supposed to have 3 elements to it. Check, and there's my pattern. All right, and again, we'll undo that feature and keep the one that we already have. Next is a extrude, and this is nothing more than extrude an offset loop. Let's remove material. So if we go back into the sketch, you'll see I can turn off my grid at this point. Get rid of the grid and the snap. So, and no hidden line. So I'm offset negative 0.125, so it's a offset loop negative 1.25 for my cut. So the last feature here is a hole. So when we look at the first hole in the pattern, I'm going to have a standard hole. So you can see the standard hole with no threads, and it's a drilled hole, 5/8. And if you look at the shape, then you make sure you change these dimensions to whatever it says in the book. I think these are correct here. And it's through all. And our placement dimensions here, you can see they're offset from the 2 datum planes. 1.5 and 2.5. From the center, 2.5, and from the center in this direction, 1.5. You could also have put this tied to the round here, which is not a good idea, I don't think, and put an axis on the round and then attach it to that axis. So no matter what happened, the hole would stay centered on the round. But in this particular case, I don't think that's a good idea. So finish that one out. And let's look at the pattern, complete the project. So there's my pattern, and I'm going to go and select view normal so I can look into this directly, and we'll see that the pattern dimensions are -4 and -3. So it's a dimensional pattern. So -4 and -3. And that completes the lesson. There are some things that we did in here in the and it'll depend on your system whether or not you have these capabilities. But we did go in and we did some rendering, and let's go render setup maybe. You may not get all the things that are provided in the we'll keep it at draft, it'll work faster. So you may not have this license, and if you don't have that license, then don't worry about doing this. Okay, so you can set up how your render is going to look. And render region, let's go render. It takes a little while now. The higher quality that you set, the longer it's going to take to render the model. Let's see what else we got here. No, didn't do very good. It's sitting on a table here. You can see this, a little hard to see on the bottom here. So again, these are some of the selections that for like the room, if you're using one of these standard ones that are given to you, depending on what system you have. Let's try this one. And you have your lights, and you can actually take these lights and move them around. So let's add a light, and you can put a color on there. It's a little hard to see that is a color swatch there. You can enable shadows. You can change the angle that it's focusing on. Enable shadows. And again, you can move this around to a position that you want to reflect correctly on your model. And let's do a distant light here. And again, let's put a different color on it. And you can drag it around. Enable shadows on that one. And a skylight, new light bulb. Let's do a new skylight. And on this one here, let's so you're getting a combination of colors and position of lights. You can also show the lights. That's one thing I didn't do here. So you can show the lights on all of them. It depends on your position what's going to show up here. This one doesn't have a color. And you can drag every one of these around. To wherever you want it to go. You can also go into your appearance gallery directly here. I'll close that. And I'll make it a little bit smaller. Zoom up. Put it into standard orientation. Let's go to turn these off. And let us hide the datum features. Still didn't go off for some reason. Probably because I'm still in the midst of this render. So let's render the window and see what I come up with. Added more elements to the render, so it's going to take a little bit longer. And again, the fancier you make it, the higher the quality of the render, etc. It's better to have a lot of RAM and a good graphics card. Mine are quite good, but not the best. Let's see what it looks like. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to look very good. So depending on what your instructor wants, when you're done with this, you can actually take a screen capture and trim it a little bit and use it, or you could make a PDF out of it. And again, you can see we've done so many new changes to it. Now, that's interesting. I wouldn't say that's too good, but it gives you an idea of what you can accomplish. And once you rotate it around, it's gone. This concludes lesson 15.